So, picture this. It's 11:47 p.m. You're lying in bed, right? The phone brightness is turned all the way down so the light doesn't wake anyone up. Your thumb is just hovering over your banking app. And this is the third time tonight. You already checked the number an hour ago, but, well, you're checking it again anyway.
Look, that right there, that's not a money problem. That is a nervous system problem. Over the next few minutes, I want to hand you the exact ritual a Japanese journalist gave to broke housewives way back in 1904. It's a ritual that modern neuroscience is only just now able to fully explain. We're not doing life hacks here, no manifesting abundance. Just the uncomfortable, evidence-backed truth about why your brain keeps sabotaging your money and the one piece of paper that quietly rewires the whole thing.
Here's the part that nobody really wants to say out loud. You are not actually bad with money. Seriously. Your brain is doing exactly what it was built to do. That's the real problem. Back in 1979, these two psychologists, Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, ran a bunch of experiments that actually ended up winning Kahneman a Nobel Prize. What they found was pretty brutal. Losing $100 doesn't just feel bad, it feels roughly twice as bad as gaining $100 feels good. Your brain, it doesn't weigh money, it weighs pain, and pain always wins the argument against logic. That's exactly why you can save so diligently for 3 whole weeks and then just undo the entire thing in one Saturday afternoon. It's why just this once always magically shows up 2 days before payday. You aren't weak, you're just running on software built for a world of predators and famine, and you're forcing it to operate in a subscription-based economy it was literally never designed for.
But honestly, here's where it actually gets worse. Psychologists studied this group of lottery winners in the late 1970s. These were people who became rich overnight, coming into more money than you or I will probably ever touch in one lump sum. And what they found was crazy. The winners' everyday happiness had already drifted back down close to exactly where it started before they'd even won. Some of them actually rated ordinary pleasures like a really good meal or a chat with a friend lower than people who'd never won anything at all. Psychologists call this the hedonic treadmill. Your brain just doesn't have a permanent rich setting. It has a baseline, and it drags every single win back down to that baseline, every single time, no matter how big the win is.
So think about it. If losses hurt twice as much as gains feel good, and every gain eventually just gets erased back to baseline anyway, you start to see the actual trap here. This was never a willpower problem, it's rigged at the hardware level.
And there's a second, quieter bias sitting right underneath all of this. Nobel laureate Richard Thaler called it mental accounting. Basically, your brain treats a dollar sitting right there in your physical wallet completely differently than a dollar sitting in an app, even though mathematically they are totally identical. A number on a glowing screen just doesn't register as real money to the part of your brain that's supposed to protect it, which ironically is exactly why the generation with the most sophisticated banking apps in human history is also, statistically speaking, one of the most financially anxious.
Now, here is where it gets really interesting. In 1904, a Japanese journalist named Hani Motoko, she's actually considered Japan's first female newspaper writer, was watching women across the country get handed these household budgets, but with almost no formal financial education to actually manage them. So she published something in a women's magazine she'd founded. It wasn't a course, it wasn't some long seminar, it was a notebook. She called it Kakeibo. It translates literally to household financial ledger. It's built around just 4 questions, and they're meant to be answered in pen at the start of every single month. First, how much money do you actually have? Second, how much do you want to save? Third, how much are you actually spending? And fourth, and this is the one almost everyone skips by the way, how can you improve? With this method, every yen gets sorted into categories. You've got needs, wants, unexpected expenses, and then there's a category most modern Western budgeting systems don't even have. Culture, books, learning, museums. Motoko understood something that modern budgeting apps still get wrong a whole century later. If your budget completely cuts out the things that make you sharper and more alive, you're not going to stick to it past 3 weeks. You'll just quit and tell yourself you're undisciplined. But that last question, how can you improve? That is the entire mechanism. And almost nobody who talks about Kakeibo online tells you why it actually works on a neurological level. It is not the categories. It's the friction. Every single purchase, when written by hand, forces a pause between the impulse and the action. Behavioral economists actually have a term for that gap. They call it a cooling off period. And it turns out that even just a few seconds of friction is enough to move a decision out of the reactive, emotional part of your brain and into the part that can actually reason. Think about your banking app. It was engineered to remove that exact pause. One tap, boom, zero friction. You get the dopamine hit before regret even has a chance to catch up.
Kakeibo does the exact opposite, and it does it on purpose. It puts a deliberate speed bump in front of every single dollar. And that is exactly why, over 120 years later, people using nothing but a cheap notebook and a pen still report cutting their spending by close to a third. They're literally outperforming apps built with bank syncing, AI categorization, and push notifications. And look, here's the uncomfortable part. You have probably tried a budget before. You built the spreadsheet, you color-coded every little category, you lasted maybe 11 days, and then quietly decided that budgeting just isn't for you.
But I'm telling you, it was never a discipline problem. Digital budgets are designed to be fast, frictionless, and forgettable. Kakeibo is deliberately slow. It's not trying to make saving effortless, it's trying to make spending require effort. Those are two completely different tools solving two completely different problems, and only one of them was built with your actual neurological wiring in mind.
But of course, a ledger alone isn't going to build wealth. It just stops the bleeding. Here is the part that actually compounds. After the Second World War, Japanese manufacturers were trying to rebuild an economy out of almost nothing. And out of that struggle came a philosophy that later got a name, Kaizen, continuous improvement. It's not about making one dramatic leap, it's about getting 1% better every single day, compounding on top of yesterday's 1%. It's the exact same underlying principle that helped turn a struggling loom company into Toyota, one of the most efficient manufacturers on Earth.
And here's why that specific number matters for your bank account. Compounding doesn't care whether it's being applied to a factory floor or a savings account. 1% improved daily for a single year, that isn't 365% better. If you run the actual math, it's closer to 37 times better. That's not just me giving you a motivational speech, that is pure arithmetic. It's the same exact force that turns a boring, consistent, completely unremarkable investor into a millionaire over 2 decades. And conversely, it's the same force that turns a single reckless bet on a sure thing into a total cautionary tale.
So let's cut through the noise for a second. You don't need a $2,000 online course. You don't need to quit your job on a random Tuesday and just trust the universe to catch you, and you certainly don't need 7 income streams before you've even mastered your first one. Every single strategy we're exploring here costs the price of a notebook and the willingness to just write down something uncomfortable. The people who stay broke were never the ones without access to information. I mean, you probably watched a dozen finance videos this month alone, right? The people who stay broke are the ones who never install a single second of friction between the impulse and the tap. Information was never the bottleneck. Reflexes were.
There's one more piece to this that's really worth knowing, and honestly, it's not financial at all. Researchers studying Okinawa, which is the region on Earth with the highest concentration of people who live past 100, kept finding this single word running underneath almost everything they looked at: ikigai. It roughly translates to the reason you get up in the morning. People with a really clear ikigai tend to make fundamentally different decisions with their money. Why? Because the money stops being the finish line and starts being fuel for something specific. A notebook can totally fix your spending, but only you can answer what you're actually saving it for.
So let's picture that scene again. Same bed, same phone, same hand hovering over that exact same banking app. Except this time, there is a physical notebook sitting on the nightstand right next to it. And the number on the screen, it isn't a threat anymore. It's just information. Because you already know exactly where every dollar this month was supposed to go. And exactly why. That feeling, that's not from a bigger paycheck, it's not from a lucky crypto trade. That is the exact same brain, just running on a completely different loop. And that loop can start tonight with a pen you probably already own.
So, let's wrap this up. Here's everything you actually need to take away. No fluff attached. Number 1, your brain feels losses roughly twice as hard as it feels gains. You need to stop fighting that and just design around it. Number 2, every win gets pulled right back toward your baseline. So just chasing a bigger number alone is never going to fix this. The system itself has to change, not just the dollar amount. Number 3, a 120-year-old notebook still works today because it reinserts the friction that your apps were literally engineered to remove. And number 4, 1% compounded daily beats one dramatic leap every single time.
But, here is what a ledger alone can't fix. It can definitely stop you from bleeding money. What it cannot do is tell you why some part of you feels like you don't deserve to keep it in the first place. That is a completely different wiring problem entirely, and it's exactly what we're going to break down next time. But if tonight is the night you finally crack open that notebook, well, you already know exactly where to start.